The developer's attorney called on a Wednesday morning. He skipped the greeting. "We have a problem." His client had been building commercial projects for 11 years. Hotels, logistics parks, retail strips. He was not the kind of man who stopped for problems. He ran through them, but this problem was different. The entire northern access road is blocked. Blocked by what? A driveway 20 feet wide, belongs to a mechanic in Harlan County. Silence on the line. How much does he want? He hasn't picked up. Another pause. Then the developer asked the one question his attorney was dreading. Who sold him that land? Nobody sold it to him. Marcus Webb had bought it himself at a county auction 16 years ago for $9,000. And the bank manager who laughed at him that morning had no idea what Marcus had seen that nobody else in that room could see. If this is the kind of story that reminds you what patience really looks like, hit that subscribe button right now and drop a comment below. This channel is built for people who respect the long game. It started on a cold February morning in 2008 at Harlan County's annual tax lien auction. The venue was a converted conference room at the back of the county agricultural office, and it smelled like burnt coffee and old carpet. About 30 people sat in folding chairs. Most of them were there for residential lots and small commercial parcels along the main highway corridor. Nobody came to a county auction looking for anything remarkable. And nobody, that morning, expected anything remarkable to happen. Marcus Webb sat in the third row from the back. He was 34 years old, a single father raising his 9-year-old daughter Renee alone after his wife passed from cancer 2 years prior. He worked 6 days a week at his own repair shop, Webb's Auto and Restoration, a small operation he had built from nothing with tools he bought one at a time. He wore a flannel shirt and work boots with a crease of grease along the toe that never fully washed out. He carried a yellow legal pad and a mechanical pencil. He had been at that auction the year before, and the year before that. He came every year, not to buy, to listen, to watch, to learn which parcels nobody else wanted and ask himself why. Marcus had a habit people called stubborn, and he called thorough. He did not make moves until he understood what he was moving toward. His daughter Renee had asked him once why he spent his Saturdays reading county records at the library instead of watching football with the neighbors. He told her, "Renee, the people who win aren't the ones who move first. They're the ones who already know where the finish line is." She was 9, she said, "Okay, Daddy." She had no idea what he meant. She would understand later. In the spring of 2006, Marcus had been driving out to check on a rebuilt carburetor for a client near the eastern edge of the county when he noticed something that stopped him mid-turn. Survey stakes, orange flags, a crew of 4 men with instruments set up along a stretch of flat open farmland about 2 miles east of State Road 14. He pulled over and watched for a few minutes, said nothing, drove home, wrote it down. Over the next 14 months, he made that same drive every few weeks. The survey crew came back twice. 40 acres of that land changed hands, then 60 more, then another stretch to the north. Marcus traced the deed transfers at the courthouse in his spare time, using his lunch breaks and the 40 minutes after Renee went to bed. The purchases were routed through a series of LLCs with addresses in Lexington and Cincinnati. He wrote every transfer in a notebook Renee had given him for Christmas. On the cover, she had drawn a red car. He kept it in the glove box of his truck. By late 2007, he had mapped it clearly. One entity was quietly assembling a large swath of land east of State Road 14, close to 400 acres in total, mostly flat, well-drained, the kind of footprint that suited distribution warehousing, which was exactly what the region needed as a regional trucking corridor was expanding along the interstate 12 miles south. Marcus was no developer. But he had lived in Harlan County his whole life, and he knew what 400 flat acres near an expanding freight corridor looked like. It looked like money, a lot of money. But there was a problem for whoever was assembling that land. The entire eastern block had no clean road access. Wetlands bordered the south. A private residential parcel sat to the west with an owner who had refused every offer for 20 years. The only viable entrance, the only one that didn't require condemning private land or bridging a wetland, was a narrow driveway corridor along the northern boundary, a strip about 20 feet wide and just under half a mile long, running between the assembled land and State Road 14. Marcus researched that corridor for 3 months before he was certain. The strip had been part of an old farm that foreclosed in 2001. The county had acquired it for back taxes and never developed it. It sat on the tax rolls as a miscellaneous agricultural parcel. Assessed value, $6,000. Opening bid at auction, $5,000. He wrote down the parcel number. He circled it 3 times. Then he closed the notebook and put it in the glove box. That February morning at the 2008 auction, the auctioneer worked through the list. A residential lot went for $11,000. 2 commercial strips sold fast. Then the auctioneer leaned into the microphone and read out the parcel number Marcus had been waiting for. Parcel 14N, agricultural access strip, approximately 20 feet wide, 0.47 miles. Opens at $5,000. Nobody moved. A man near the window said quietly to his neighbor, "What's that even good for?" Marcus raised his hand, $5,000. From the side of the room, branch manager Dale Fugate, who had denied Marcus a small business expansion loan the prior year on the grounds that his collateral was insufficient, recognized him immediately. Fugate had the kind of laugh that filled a room. He used it now. He leaned toward the man beside him and said it loud enough to carry. "Webb's bidding on a goat path. That's $9,000 he'll never see again." A few people smiled. The auctioneer acknowledged a counter from somewhere near the coffee table. $6,000. Marcus went to 7. A voice pushed to 8. Marcus said, $9,000. His voice was flat. He did not look at Fugate. He did not look anywhere except the auctioneer. The auctioneer waited, looked around the room. $9,000 going once, going twice. The hammer came down. Fugate shook his head and went back to his coffee. Marcus signed the paperwork, tucked the deed into the inside pocket of his flannel shirt, walked to his truck, and called Renee's babysitter to say he'd be home by noon. If you've ever been underestimated by someone who thought they had you figured out, smash that like button right now. This story is just getting started. Marcus drove home from that auction without hurry. Renee was at the kitchen table doing homework when he walked in. She looked up. "Did you get what you were looking for?" He set the deed on the table beside her math worksheet. She looked at it, looked at him. "Is that good?" "Not yet," he said, "but it will be." She went back to her homework. He put the kettle on. For the next several years, Marcus maintained that strip of land the way he maintained everything he owned. Deliberately. He paid the property taxes every year, $41 annually. He mowed it twice a year on weekends when the shop was closed. He kept the survey markers visible and undisturbed. He received no offers, no calls, no inquiries. As far as anyone could tell, Parcel 14N was exactly what Dale Fugate had called it, a goat path. Then in 2013, a real estate broker knocked on the door of the shop. Young woman, professional jacket, rental car. She introduced herself as representing a regional development firm and said she was inquiring about a small parcel Marcus owned east of State Road 14. She smiled warmly and offered $40,000. Cash, clean close in 30 days. Marcus wiped his hands on a shop rag. "I appreciate you coming out, so you'll consider it?" I said, "I appreciate the trip." He walked back toward the bay. She left a card. He placed it in the notebook with the red car on the cover. Renee was 15 by then. She found the card one afternoon while she was looking for a pen. She brought it to him at dinner. "Dad, somebody offered you $40,000 for that strip by the road." "Yep, why didn't you take it?" "Because it's not worth $40,000 to me." She frowned. "Then what's it worth?" He thought about it for a moment. "Whatever they need it to be worth." She stared at him. "That doesn't make sense." "It will," he said. He handed her back the card. She put it on the refrigerator with a magnet. It stayed there for 2 years until it faded, and she took it down. The second offer came in 2017, not from a broker, from a lawyer in a suit that cost more than Marcus's truck. He sat across from Marcus in the shop's tiny front office, which smelled like motor oil and old coffee, and he placed a folder on the desk. Inside was an offer letter, $85,000. He slid it across with the confidence of a man who had never been told no by someone wearing work boots. Marcus read it carefully, looked up. "Who does your client want to build out there?" The lawyer smiled. "I'm not at liberty to say." Marcus nodded slowly. "Tell them I'm not at liberty to sell." The lawyer looked at him for a long moment. Then he picked up the folder and left. Marcus opened the notebook and wrote the date, the amount, and the lawyer's name. Beside it, he wrote 2 words, "Not yet." What he could not have known in 2017 was that the development group had quietly stalled. Financing had fallen through once. A key land parcel had a title dispute. The project was delayed by years, which meant Marcus's strip sat quietly beside State Road 14, untouched, unnoticed, unmoved, growing in value every single year without anyone but Marcus knowing exactly why. By 2022, Renee Webb was 23 years old, a licensed civil engineer working for a firm in Louisville. One evening she called her father. "Dad, I was looking at county permit filings for a class project and I saw something." "What did you see?" "A site development application for 412 acres east of State Road 14. Distribution hub, rail access, estimated project value $32 million. Marcus was quiet. "Dad, I know." Another pause. "Your strip." "Yes." Renee was silent for a long moment. Then she said something she had waited 23 years to understand. "Oh, that's what you meant." Marcus leaned back in his chair and looked out the window toward the field. "That's what I meant." She drove home that weekend. She spread the permit application across the kitchen table. Marcus sat across from her and placed the notebook beside it. 14 years of entries, offer dates, amounts, names. Renee read every page. When she looked up, her eyes were wet. "Dad, you held this for 14 years. 16, counting the research. You paid $41 a year in taxes, every year on time." She looked at the permit file. "Their entire primary access road runs through parcel 14N. "Yes, it does." "They cannot break ground without it." "That's correct." She took a slow breath. "Did they know you owned it when they filed?" Marcus folded his hands. "They're about to find out." If you want to see how this ends, and you're not subscribed yet, hit that button right now. Because what happens next is the part Dale Fugate was never going to hear about at his coffee station. 3 weeks after the permit application was filed, the development firm's title search flagged parcel 14, and their attorneys ran the ownership chain. It took 5 days. 5 days to confirm what Marcus had known for 16 years. The parcel had a valid deed, continuous tax payment history, and a clear chain of ownership dating back to 2008. It belonged to Marcus Webb, sole proprietor, Webb's Auto and Restoration, Harlan County. The call came on a Thursday morning while Marcus was replacing a timing belt. His cell phone buzzed on the workbench. He recognized the area code, Louisville. He set down his tools, wiped his hands, and answered. "Mr. Webb, my name is Jonathan Price. I represent Harlan Eastern Development Partners. I'd like to discuss parcel 14N. Go ahead. We'd like to acquire that parcel as part of our current development project. We're prepared to offer you $150,000. Marcus said nothing. Price waited. "Mr. Webb, I heard you. Is that something you'd like to discuss?" "Not at that number." A pause. "What number works for you?" Marcus looked across the shop at the red-covered notebook on his desk. "I'll be in touch." He hung up. He called Renee. 150, she said. "What did you tell them?" "That I'd be in touch." She was quiet for a second. "Dad, what do you actually want here? Do you want to sell?" He stood at the edge of the shop bay and looked out at the late afternoon light over the county road. "No." "Then what?" "I want what it's actually worth, not what they want to pay, what they have to pay." Renee took a breath. "Okay, then let me make a call." Renee Webb had spent the past 3 years working on site infrastructure for large commercial projects. She understood access corridors. She understood what a project like this needed. She called Jonathan Price the next morning. "Mr. Price, I'm Renee Webb. I'm Marcus Webb's daughter, and I'm handling this on his behalf going forward. Of course, we are happy to work with you. I want to make something clear up front. My father has no interest in selling that parcel, not at any price. If you want access, you need terms." Price sounded measured. "What terms are you proposing?" "A permanent commercial easement, $5,000 per month, adjusted annually for CPI, transferable in perpetuity to his heirs and assigns, tied to the active life of the development." Silence. "Ms. Webb, that's well above." "Mr. Price, your client has a $32 million project sitting on 400 acres with no road in. There is no alternative access point that doesn't require wetland mitigation or eminent domain proceedings. You know that? I know that. So let's not pretend what this parcel is worth." Maury silence. "I'll take it back to our client. You do that." They went quiet for 9 days. During that time, Harlan Easton's attorneys attempted to argue the parcel had effectively been abandoned. They pointed to a 2-year gap in the early records where the parcel had briefly been rolled into the broader county agricultural assessment rather than listed separately. They filed a quiet title challenge in county court claiming the parcel's legal identity was extinguished during that gap. Renee spread the county tax records across her kitchen table in Louisville at 11 o'clock at night and went through every year from 2001 to 2024. She found the gap. She also found the correction filing from the county assessor's office in 2005, which had reseparated the parcel and reissued the individual tax bill retroactively. She found every single payment Marcus had made, $41 every year, never once late. She called her father at midnight. "Dad, did you ever miss a tax payment on that strip?" "Never." "Do you still have the receipts?" "Every one." "Where?" "Shoebox in the hall closet, 3rd shelf." She drove to Harlan the next morning. The hearing was set for 3 weeks out. Renee prepared a single binder, the original deed from 2008, the complete tax payment history from 2008 to 2024, the county assessor's 2005 correction filing, the chain of title going back to the original foreclosure, and a 1-page legal memorandum that made a single argument. You cannot successfully claim abandonment of a parcel on which the owner has paid taxes continuously for 16 years, and which the county itself has assessed and accepted payment for without interruption. She walked into that hearing in a gray blazer and set the binder on the table. Harlan Easton's attorney was polished. He argued the 2-year assessment gap. He presented 2 affidavits. Renee let him finish. Then she placed 3 documents in front of the judge. "Your Honor, Exhibit A is the original deed. Exhibit B is 16 consecutive years of tax receipts. Exhibit C is the county's own correction filing from 2005, reaffirming the parcel as a separate assessable unit. The county taxed it. The county accepted payment. My client paid every bill on time for 16 years. If the county considered this parcel abandoned, they had a strange way of showing it." The judge looked at Harlan Easton's attorney. "Do you dispute the tax receipts?" He paused. "No, Your Honor." "Do you dispute the 2005 correction filing?" Another pause. "We believe the interpretation." "That's not what I asked." The judge looked at the documents for a moment. Parcel 14N is a valid, legally recognized parcel of land with clear, uninterrupted ownership. The quiet title claim is denied. He closed the folder. "We are done here. This is the moment I want you to think about." Marcus Webb had held that strip for 16 years. He had paid $41 a year in taxes. He had turned down offers at $40,000, $85,000, $150,000. He had mowed a 20-foot wide strip of grass twice a year for 16 years and not once said a word about why. And now, a judge had just confirmed what he already knew. Drop a comment below and tell me, would you have taken the $150,000 offer or would you have held on? I want to read every response. Harlan Easton called Renee that same afternoon. Jonathan Price's voice had a different quality now, less measured, more retired. "Ms. Webb, our client is prepared to accept the easement agreement on your terms." Renee sat at her car in the courthouse parking lot. She did not let him hear the exhale. $5,000 per month, CPI adjusted annually, permanent, transferable. "Yes." "Drafted by our attorney, recorded at the county clerk, binding on all successors in interest to the development." "Yes, agreed." She paused. "I'll send you the draft within the week." She hung up. She sat in the parking lot for a moment, then she called Marcus. They accepted. His voice was quiet, all of it, every term. A long pause. "Good. Dad, are you okay?" He didn't answer right away. She could hear the hum of something in the background, the shop radio, probably, same station he'd listened to since she was a little girl. "I'm good, Renee." Another pause. "Thank you." She pressed her forehead against the steering wheel for a second. Then she said, "You did the work, Dad. I just carried the binder." The agreement was signed on a Thursday afternoon. Marcus filed it at the county clerk's office himself, same as he'd filed the original deed 16 years before. He drove home, opened the red-covered notebook to the last page, and wrote one line. February 2024, done. He closed the notebook and put it back in the glove box. $5,000 a month, every month, for the life of a $32 million commercial development. Indexed for inflation. transferable to Renee and to her children after her. For a strip of land he bought for $9,000 when a bank manager laughed loud enough for the room to hear. Marcus Webb never called Dale Fugate, never drove past the bank, never mentioned his name. Some men need to be proven right out loud. Marcus was not that kind of man. He had known for 16 years what that strip was worth, and the only audience that had ever mattered to him was the 9-year-old girl with the red-covered notebook who had asked him once why patience was better than speed. He started answering that question in 2008. He finished answering it in 2024, and some lessons take exactly that long. Renee framed the original deed and the final easement agreement side by side. She hung them in the front office of Webb's Auto and Restoration, where the old coffee smell still lived in the walls. She put a small label between the two frames. It said, November 2008 to February 2024. Marcus saw it and said nothing. She watched him look at it for a long time. Then he went back to the timing belt he was working on. That's the story of Marcus Webb. A single father, a mechanic, a man who read county records in his spare time and sat in the third row at a county auction with a legal pad and $9,000. He did not have investors. He did not have a real estate license. He did not have the kind of collateral a bank manager in Harlan County thought was worth respecting. What he had was the ability to see something nobody else was looking for, the patience to wait until it mattered, and a daughter who understood by the time she was 23 that her father had been building something for her whole life. This story hit you the way it hit me. Please subscribe to Dadversestries right now. We put out stories about fathers, about patience, about what it looks like to play a long game when the whole world is watching short ones. Hit the like button if Marcus Webb earned it. And before you go, drop your answer in the comments. Would you have taken the $150,000 offer when it came, or would you have waited for the monthly deal that lasts a lifetime? I read every single comment. I'll see you in the next one.